I was scrolling through Reddit when a post from a legal advice forum caught my eye. It was from my cousin, Ashley, who lives with us. How do I prevent a manipulative cousin from inheriting my parents' money? I was confused. Her family lives in a double-wide trailer in Ohio. Why would she think I'd want a piece of that? The comments were what you'd expect, reassuring her that a cousin has no legal claim, that she was worrying over nothing. But then she replied, a little too eagerly. Are you sure? I mean, we're first cousins, practically sisters. That's not a total stranger, legally speaking. Nothing's ever 100% right, and just like that, I understood. The person trying to inherit someone else's money was her. Reading the full post from my cousin's burner account was a gut punch. I'm an only child, 24F. My dad is in international real estate, and my mom is a partner at her firm. We're in the 9-figure club, so my inheritance is more than enough for several lifetimes. The problem is my cousin, 23F. She's lived with us for years. She's smarter than me, more successful, basically the daughter every parent dreams of. My mom adores her, honestly more than she seems to adore me. How do I stop this cousin, who is a huge threat to me, from getting her hands on my family's estate? My head was spinning. The family background she was describing was obviously mine. And the smarter, more successful, more loved cousin she was pretending to be was me. She was posting as me to get advice on how she could screw me over. The comment section was a mix of legal advice and common sense. OP, you're probably young. A cousin has zero inheritance rights unless they are specifically named in a will. Relax. Your first priority should be getting her out of your house. She's freeloading on your family's resources. The inheritance isn't a real issue. But Ashley's replies were frantic. Are you sure? I mean, we're first cousins, practically sisters. That's not a total stranger, legally speaking. Nothing's ever 100% right. The commenters were getting annoyed. Are you trolling or just legally illiterate? Your parents' assets have nothing to do with your cousin. This is textbook paranoia. Yeah. The only way is if your parents write her into the will. The chances of that are basically zero. Ashley kept pushing. A will is unlikely. My mom might, but my dad never would. There's no blood relation. Are there any other ways? Loopholes? Then, someone posted the comment that changed everything. Theoretically, it's not impossible. In extreme cases, there's a concept called heir by proxy or per stirpes distribution. Ashley replied instantly, OMG, tell me more. I'm dmang you, please accept. This is urgent. The thread quickly turned on her. Wait a second, it feels like you're desperately trying to find a way for your cousin to inherit the money. Busted. You're the cousin, aren't you? Across the dinner table, Ashley angrily locked her phone and slammed it face down. My mom finally looked up from her own phone, tapping the table. Chloe, can you put that away? Look at your cousin. Ashley knows that dinner time is for family. I resisted the urge to roll my eyes. You never FaceTime me when you're at school, she continued, her voice layered with guilt. You're finally home for the summer. Can't you just be present? Once Ashley leaves for college next year, how many of these family dinners will we have left? It was just the three of us at a massive 10-person table. Some family dinner. Ashley immediately softened her expression, turning to my mom with a syrupy sweet smile. Oh, Aunt Linda, Chloe, and I are different. When I'm in Europe, I'll be calling you every single day. You'll probably get sick of me. She shot a smug look in my direction. I mean, it's just undergrad. How busy can you be? If someone doesn't have time for a single call, it's because they don't want to make time. She was right. I rarely called my mom. She shipped me off to boarding school in the 1st grade and had me studying abroad before I was even 18. We saw each other a few times a year. We weren't close. Beyond a quick, I'm alive and well, I never knew what to say to her. Ashley was a different story. Ever since my uncle had another kid, a boy, of course, my mom brought Ashley, then a senior in high school, to live with us. Since then, this house had been filled with their laughter and inside jokes. Maybe I'm just emotionally detached, but their closeness never really bothered me. My mom supported me financially, giving me the freedom to pursue my master's at an Ivy League school without worrying about loans. So I didn't care that she gave Ashley the warmth and attention she never gave me. I didn't even mind that she was footing the bill for Ashley's entire life, including her new plan to study abroad. As long as it didn't affect me, I figured it was her money. If Ashley could keep my mom happy, fine. I was even okay with her getting a nice chunk of cash to start her life. But now, seeing that post, I knew she wasn't satisfied with a few $100,000. She wanted it all. A comment from that thread echoed in my head. Your first priority should be getting her out of your house. Damn right. This greedy parasite had to go. And she wasn't getting another dime. I casually took a bite of asparagus. Oh, by the way, Mom, you asked me to look into the university Ashley got into. I did. I paused for effect. It's a diploma mill, an unaccredited online university with a fancy name. Her degree won't be worth the paper it's printed on. That $80,000 tuition? You might as well just set it on fire. My mom froze, a forkful of salmon halfway to her mouth. She shook her head with a weary smile. Chloe, is this really necessary? Ashley is finally following in your footsteps, trying to better herself. Can't you just be happy for her? The story was this. Ashley heard I was starting my master's program on a full scholarship. The very next day, she quit the preschool teacher job my mom had pulled strings to get her and demanded to be sent abroad, too. She found some shady international admissions agent who, for a hefty fee, got her accepted to a dozen garbage schools. From that pile of worthless offers, she picked the one that happened to be in the same city as my university. My mom, clueless, was bursting with pride. She threw Ashley a huge, going-away party, telling all her friends how, with the right support, girls could be just as successful as boys. I didn't have the heart to burst her bubble then. But things were different now. The truth was better for everyone. Ashley's usual smirk vanished, replaced by a flash of anger. She scrambled for her phone, pulling up the school's homepage. Look with your own eyes, she spat. It says right here, this is a centuries-old institution, a sister school to Harvard. It's located right in the heart of America's capital, New York City, and has produced 5 first ladies. It's the top choice for socialites. What do you know, anyway? I couldn't help but laugh. I turned to my mom. Mom, what's the capital of the United States? Do you know? Ashley rolled her eyes, slapping her forehead dramatically. Chloe, are you for real? Your school is in New York. You don't know where the capital is? Oh my god. My mother, at least, wasn't that ignorant. Her eyes widened as she snatched the phone, reading the poorly translated English description out loud. Her face was a mask of pure shock and embarrassment. My mom, who had always trusted Ashley implicitly, was furious. She was mortified that Ashley had been so careless and, frankly, so stupid. She immediately contacted a legitimate educational consultant to come up with a real plan. The trip to the fake university was off. But with Ashley's terrible high school grades and abysmal test scores, the consultant said it would take at least a year of hard work at a community college to even have a chance at a decent 4-year school. Ashley stomped her foot, her eyes burning with a hatred so intense it was almost shocking. But this time, it wasn't directed at me. It was directed at my mother's retreating back as she rushed off to make calls on Ashley's behalf. Back in my room, I refreshed the Reddit thread. Ashley was spamming the user who mentioned Heir by proxy. Hello? Are you there? This is an emergency. Can you please reply? Hey, anyone home? I can't DM you anymore. You didn't accept my friend request. Is anyone even alive on this site? She was panicking. I logged into my burner account and sent her a private message. Hi there. I'm a paralegal student specializing in family law and estate planning. I saw your post. My family has a leech of a relative too, so I completely understand your situation. Happy to offer a free consultation if you need to talk. She replied in seconds. No greeting, no pleasantries. Can my cousin really inherit my parents' money? Does it have to happen after they die? How does it work? She quickly backpedaled. I mean, I need to know so I can warn my parents. To protect our assets. I sent a smiley face emoji and deliberately let her stew for a while. My phone started buzzing off the hook. What the hell? Where'd you go?
Hello.
I swear, are you a real paralegal or not? Which school do you go to? I'll report you. Is this how you run a business? I know it's free, but I'm still the client. You have zero customer service skills. After enjoying her meltdown for a few minutes, I finally replied. So sorry, I was in class. Just got free. She lectured me for another minute before getting back to her point. Okay, so I've been thinking about a scenario. In my family, only my mom is nice to my cousin. My dad and I are pretty cold to her because she's so perfect it's annoying. So, could she sue for emotional distress or something? Claiming years of psychological abuse and demand a piece of the estate as compensation. I had to cover my mouth to keep from laughing out loud. I tweaked an AI-generated response and sent it to her. Ma'am, legally speaking, being a cold to someone does not constitute abuse, and it certainly has no bearing on property division. The only way she can legally inherit is if your parents explicitly grant her assets in a legally binding will or trust. Without that, her claim has no basis. You don't need to worry. Ashley was furious. Who are you to say that? You're not a judge. You're just a student. You don't know anything. I sent a laughing emoji. You're welcome to consult with a licensed attorney. I'm confident their answer will be the same. So you're saying there's no way? That's insane. She lived in our house for 8 years. 8. Even if she's not family on paper, isn't there something like common law family? How can they just cut her out? No way. In her rage, she'd completely forgotten her cover story. Ma'am, please calm down. That specific avenue won't work, but it doesn't mean all hope is lost. For example, you saw the other commenter mention inheriting by proxy. What does that even mean? Explain it to me. Now. It means that if, for example, your mother were to pass away, her mother, your grandmother, would be entitled to a share of her estate. If your grandmother then passed away, that share would go to her children, meaning your uncle. Your uncle could then gift that inheritance to his own child. It's an indirect route, but it's a possibility. I wondered if she was smart enough to follow the logic. Her reply came quickly. So if my mom dies, my grandma gets her money. Then if grandma dies, my uncle gets the money. And if my uncle gets it, it's basically mine. Right? I sent her 3 thumbs up emojis. She was a quick study when it came to greed. Ugh, why do you have to wait for people to die to get inheritance? So annoying. I have to figure this out. Her last message sounded like she was thinking out loud. I decided to test the waters. I pasted another AI response. Under state and federal law, homicide carries severe penalties, including life in prison or the death penalty. Even if you were to inherit, the Slayer rule would legally bar you from receiving any assets from the person you harmed. I understand your frustration, but I strongly advise against any extreme measures. Please consider the legal ramifications. Ashley didn't reply. But later that evening, as if on cue, my mom let out a series of loud sneezes in the living room. That was just the beginning. In the days to come, she would learn the true depths of her beloved niece's malice. For the next few days, Ashley was back to being the perfect, doting niece. But I'd catch them whispering together, shutting up the moment I entered a room. I knew they were plotting something against me. Sure enough, a few days later, my mom sent our housekeeper home early and called a family meeting. I sat down, and my mom put her arm around Ashley's shoulders. Chloe, she said, her voice heavy with importance. Ashley is right. Waiting another year to start college is a huge setback. It will be harder for her to find a husband if she graduates when she's almost 30. It's just not an option. She took a deep breath. After a lot of thought, I've come up with the perfect solution. You two are going to switch schools. You'll enroll in Ashley's program, and Ashley will take your spot in the master's program at Yale. She beamed at us. It's a win-win for everyone. I knew they were up to something, but I never imagined it would be this insane. I was calmly sipping my iced tea, and her words made me spit it all over their shocked faces. I pointed at myself, my eyes wide with disbelief. Are you saying you want me, your actual daughter, to go to some unaccredited online college? And you want Ashley, your niece, to take the spot in a top-tier graduate program that I worked my ass off for? Are you both out of your minds? How is that a win-win? It's a win for you too. Where's the win for me in attending a fake university? Besides, I added, do you seriously think an Ivy League school doesn't check student IDs? You think they'll just let some random person waltz in and take my place? Ashley was ready with a retort. Oh, stop it. You know how it is over there. White people can't tell Asians apart, and we look kind of similar anyway. They'd never notice. Don't use that as an excuse. And for the record, she huffed, stop calling it a fake university. The description was just written by someone whose first language isn't English. It's not a big deal. My school is just as good as yours. You should be grateful for the opportunity. My mom took a different approach, emotional blackmail. Chloe, I know this is a small sacrifice for you, but think about it. You'll probably end up living abroad permanently. Ashley will be the one here to take care of me when I'm old. She's already so thoughtful, Mom continued, her voice softening. When she saw how stressed I was, she used her own pocket money to book a full executive health screening for me. That's not something you would ever think to do. I felt a bitter laugh rise in my throat. Last year, my mom had a nasty cough that wouldn't go away. I stayed up half the night to get her an appointment with the best pulmonologist in the state and booked the most expensive checkup package available. She refused to go. Ashley says those things are bad luck. They just invent problems to scare you. I can still hear the disgust in her voice. In the end, Ashley's mom, my penny-pinching aunt, used the appointment for herself. And now, Ashley was suddenly concerned about my mom's health. Only I knew what kind of twisted plan was brewing in her mind. I sighed, looking directly at my mother's pleading eyes. Mom, you're my mother. Of course I'll take care of you. I would never leave you in the hands of a stranger. I have my own plans for your retirement, and they don't involve you sacrificing my future for someone else. Not only is what you're suggesting illegal, but even if it weren't, my answer is no. Absolutely not. Ashley just smirked and looked away as if she already knew she'd won. A cold fury flashed in my mother's eyes. I always knew you were different from Ashley. So cold, no sense of family. I can't believe you won't even do this one small thing. Why can't you see it from her perspective? She pleaded. You can always apply to another program. A few years delay is nothing for you. But Ashley needs to get on with her life, get married. A woman's value drops after 25. She can't afford to wait. Any flicker of warmth I felt for her vanished. You can rest assured, Chloe, she said, her voice dripping with ice. I will never, ever rely on you in my old age. But this isn't up for debate. I've already paid Ashley's tuition. You are going. And don't forget, even with a full scholarship, you have living expenses. If you refuse to give up your spot, I can and will cut you off completely. My own money could support me through grad school if I was careful, but the principle of the matter was what enraged me. I remembered the Reddit comment. She's freeloading on your family's resources. I slammed my hand on the table. That's a lie. My tuition and expenses are paid from the educational trust fund Dad and my grandparents set up for me. When was the last time you gave me a dime? Your dividends from Dad's company have probably all gone to funding Ashley's lifestyle. You have no money to cut me off from. Behind my mother's back, Ashley rolled her eyes. Then she stepped forward, positioning herself as my mother's protector. Chloe, you're so calculating. How can you be so obsessed with your parents' money? They gave you life. You should be grateful, not nickel-and-diming them. Your aunt is begging you, and you throw it back in her face? You've spent a few years overseas and forgotten the most basic respect. She wasn't worried about her own parents' finances, the trailer, the gambling debts her brother racked up. She was trying to figure out how to inherit my family's money, and she had the gall to lecture me? My mother hid behind Ashley, silent. Her silence was all the confirmation I needed. She had been spending my trust fund. I was done arguing. I glanced at the time on my phone. They should be here any minute. If she thought I had no right to ask about my own trust fund, then it was time to bring in the people who did. My calm, almost numb expression seemed to infuriate my mother even more. I know that look, Chloe. You're plotting something. You're not thinking of calling your father, are you? She scoffed. What good would that do? He hasn't been back in the States for years. It's like he doesn't exist. I control the money here. He's thousands of miles away. What can he possibly do? My dad was a terrible husband and a mostly absent father, but he was always generous financially. I used to feel sorry for my mom, which is why I never complained about boarding school or being sent away. I endured the loneliness to make her life easier, and my reward was being labeled cold and unfeeling. My mother saw the flicker of emotion in my eyes and pounced. Stop it with the doe eyes. You're just like your father's side of the family. Cold-hearted, manipulative, always scheming. Not like my family. We're honest people. I don't know where you lost all our good genes. Before she could finish her tirade, the keypad on the front door beeped. Only the three of us knew the code. Their faces instantly filled with alarm. The door swung open, revealing an elderly couple with suitcases. My grandparents. I hadn't seen them in almost 3 years. My mother's face was a mixture of shock and fear. She rushed forward to take their bags. Dad, Mom. What a surprise. Why didn't you call? Ashley looked annoyed, like her territory was being invaded. She scanned my plainly dressed grandparents from head to toe, her chin tilted up, ready to put them in their place. My mother quickly grabbed her arm, whispering something in her ear. I could just make out the words, not close to them, tons of money, and play nice. Ashley's entire demeanor changed in an instant. She shoved past me as I was about to greet them, plastering on the same sickeningly sweet smile she used on my mom. She led my grandparents to the sofa and bustled around making them tea. "You must be so tired after your long trip," she chirped. "Please, make yourselves at home." My grandmother looked her up and down. "So, you're Chloe's cousin," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "You certainly know how to suck up. Not like our Chloe. She's all books, no good at these social games." Ashley, deaf to the tone, preened at the compliment. She started massaging their shoulders and cutting up fruit. My grandparents, masters of their own games, accepted the service with gracious smiles. Feeling validated, Ashley shot me a triumphant smirk. "It's true. My cousin is smart, I guess, but she's forgotten basic family values. You wouldn't believe it, but she was just screaming at my aunt before you came in. After all the money Aunt Linda spent on her education, she's demanding more for some trust fund instead of getting a job to repay her. So ungrateful." My grandma, who has the temper of a bull, clenched her fists. My grandpa gently placed a hand on her arm. He smiled benignly at Ashley. "Oh my, that does sound terrible. We'll have to have a talk with her. But I hear you're going to college overseas too? I assume you're not using your parents' money?" Ashley puffed out her chest. "Of course not. My parents are comfortable, but their money is for my brother. I'm paying my own way. I'm not a freeloader like Chloe." Seeing that my grandma hadn't exploded yet, my mom jumped in. "See, Mom, Dad, Ashley has always been a good kid, not like Chloe. I think this is fate. Why don't you adopt Ashley as your granddaughter? That way, you'll finally have someone to dote on in your old age." Ashley immediately bowed, holding out a cup of tea. "I wouldn't mind. From now on, I'll be your real granddaughter. Don't be too hard on Chloe. Like my aunt says, she's just cold. You can just pretend she doesn't exist and treat me like your own. When you're old and can't get out of bed, I'll be right there by your side every single day." I could hear my grandmother's knuckles cracking from across the room, but Ashley was oblivious. As she pushed past me again, simpering and offering tea, my grandma finally snapped. She swatted the porcelain cup out of Ashley's hand, sending it smashing to the floor. Scalding tea splashed all over Ashley's hands and my mother's arm. They both shrieked in pain. My grandmother's voice boomed through the room. "I heard you from the doorway. You say my granddaughter has bad genes? My granddaughter with the bad genes is going to Yale, while your kid with the good genes is going to a fake online college. And you want to swap them? Have you lost your damn minds? Your whole family is what's got bad genes. Now get the hell out of my sight." My grandpa, who had been patiently playing his part, rushed over to me, clapping me on the shoulder. "Look at you, Chloe. Almost 3 years. You've got my height and your grandma's good looks. And that big brain is all from our side of the family, the Miller side." He shot a sideways glance at a mortified Ashley. "Not like some people. Face like a bag of smashed crabs and a brain the size of a pea. Probably dropped their genes in a dumpster fire at birth. Wants to be my granddaughter? In your dreams, kid." It had been years, but Grandma was still a force of nature, and Grandpa was still a riot. They lived on a ranch in Texas and couldn't stand the city. When I was little, they'd take me fishing and horseback riding. Every summer vacation was an adventure. But my mom and my grandparents, especially my grandma, did not get along. She hated how happy and carefree I was when I visited them. She saw it as a betrayal. To keep the peace, I started cutting my visits short, and for the past few years, I hadn't gone at all, just sending gifts through my uncle. My mom had even called them to gloat. "See? I told you Chloe was a cold-hearted snake. She doesn't care about you at all." So when I called them for help, I was worried they'd be angry with me. But the second they heard what my mom and Ashley were planning, they were on the next flight out. Seeing them here, so full of life and ready for a fight, was the best feeling in the world. With them in my corner, no one in this house was going to push me around anymore. My grandma made my mom pull up the statements for my educational trust. Just as I suspected, more than half of it was gone. She had used it to fund Ashley's cushy lifestyle, to bribe people to get her jobs, and to cover household expenses. And just a few days ago, she'd made a huge withdrawal to pay the full tuition for that diploma mill. Meanwhile, her own dividends from my father's company sat untouched in her personal savings account. It was pretty clear who that money was for. My grandma threatened to break my mom's arm if she didn't put every single cent back. My mom tried to refuse, so my grandpa calmly explained that embezzling from a trust was a federal crime, and she was looking at jail time on top of repaying the funds. My mom finally relented, looking like she was about to transfer the money back into the trust account. I stopped her. "Mom, that account is still in your name. Don't play dumb." I held out my phone with my personal bank account's QR code displayed. Under Ashley's murderous glare, I watched the notification for the transfer come through. All the resources she had stolen from me over the years were finally back where they belonged. After a fun week of showing my grandparents the city, I dropped them at the airport and went home to log onto my burner account. Sure enough, there was a message from Ashley. "I can't believe my cousin is such a scheming bitch. She brought her crazy old grandparents here just to take back what's rightfully mine. Those two geezers stole everything. You have to help me. What do I do now?" She was so angry she'd completely dropped the act. I played the part of the helpful internet stranger. "Hey, don't panic. First, you need to get a clear picture of what assets your aunt actually controls. Property, stocks, cash. We need a full inventory to plan the next move. I already know all that. My aunt tells me everything." She proceeded to list, in detail, every property, investment portfolio, and savings account my mother had. For the first time, I had a clear picture of my own family's wealth. My mother had always been secretive about it with me. I smiled grimly and typed out my next piece of advice. "Okay, from what you're saying, your uncle, my dad, is the primary source of all these assets. Legally, they're likely considered marital property. If your aunt tried to gift a large portion to you, your uncle could sue to have at least half of it returned." "What? Half? No way. A gift is a gift. That's my money. You can't just take back a gift. That's not fair." If you don't like that option, then your only other choice is to wait patiently until your aunt passes and hope she leaves you something in her will. If the will is properly notarized, no one can touch your share. Wait, are you insane? I just took her for a checkup. She's healthy as a horse. I have to wait 50 years for her to die to get the money? I'll be old then. What am I gonna do? Spend it in my coffin? I sent a shrugging emoji. Well, you never know. Accidents happen. And some health problems don't show up on tests. Life is unpredictable. Ashley didn't reply, but I could picture the determined, vicious look on her face. I don't know anything about the law. My advice was a mix of Google searches and pure bullshit. But I know Ashley. She's a rabid dog that's caught the scent of meat. Once she bites down, she'll never let go. All I had to do was point her in the right direction. Then I could sit back and watch them tear each other apart. I decided to stay at home until I left for school, just to keep an eye on things. At dinner, I put on a remorseful face. Mom, I'm sorry about the other day. I was just scared about losing my place at Yale, and I panicked. I shouldn't have called Grandma and Grandpa without talking to you first. My mom slammed her fork down. You are the most selfish person I have ever met, Chloe. Why do you have to fight me on every little thing? Are you happy now that you've embarrassed me in front of the whole family? Forget it, she spat. I'm done with you. From now on, Ashley is my only family. She's worth 1,000 of you. You got your precious money, but don't expect another penny from the rest of the estate. So, taking back what was mine was selfish? In her eyes, I was only a good daughter if I silently handed over my entire future to my cousin. At this point, I didn't even care. I just kept up the act. Okay, Mom, don't be angry. It's not good for your health. I let my voice drop. I know the doctor said your checkup only showed slightly high blood pressure, but don't forget how Grandpa died. It was a stroke, brought on by stress when Uncle Rick racked up all those gambling debts. Cardiovascular problems can be genetic. You really need to take it easy. I emphasized certain words. Across the table, Ashley, who had been scrolling on her phone, froze. A glint of cold calculation appeared in her eyes. A week later, my mom had a new will drawn up and notarized. The majority of her assets, houses, cars, stocks, were left to Ashley. A small portion was even left to my deadbeat Uncle Rick. As for me, I was left with nothing. Ashley was insufferable. Look at you, Chloe, she gloated. All that drama just to get your little trust fund back. Was it worth it? Meanwhile, I don't care about material things, and your mom is just insisting on giving me everything. Just then, the doorbell rang. A team of delivery people from Chanel, Dior, and Prada marched in, filling the living room with shopping bags. I started unboxing everything, trying on clothes and shoes. Ashley's eyes were wide with greed. She reached out to touch a handbag, and I swatted her hand away. What the hell, Chloe, she shrieked. Why did you buy all this? This must have cost a fortune. Don't take the tags off. You have to return it. I strutted in front of the mirror. What? You like this stuff? Ask my mom to buy it for you. She's giving you the whole estate, right? Oh, wait, I forgot. Your mom hates luxury brands. Calls them a waste of money. My grandparents, on the other hand, love seeing their only granddaughter in designer clothes. They insisted I buy all this. I gave her a fake pitying look. If you want stuff like this, I guess you'll just have to wait for my mom to die and cash in your inheritance. I knew Ashley secretly loved designer things. She saved up for months to buy a few bags, but she never dared bring them to our house. I also knew my uncle had probably already sold them for gambling money. She stood there, watching me, looking like she'd been slapped. Then, a look of grim resolve crossed her face, and she spun around and walked out of the room. With the university swap off the table, Ashley decided she would go to the diploma mill after all. My mom tried to reason with her. Ashley, honey, that school is a scam. Don't worry about the 80,000. We'll just consider it a loss. The consultant said we can get you into a proper community college this year, and you can transfer to a real university after that. For the first time, Ashley flatly rejected my mom's genuine concern. You're so short-sighted, Aunt Linda. I'm already 25. I can't waste another year. I'll be almost 30 by the time I graduate. Who's going to marry an old woman like that? What good is a degree then? Don't argue with me, she snapped. If you won't think about my future, I have to. The decision is final. Just wire my living expenses to my account. My mom was a wreck. She spent days clutching her chest, complaining of heart palpitations. Normally, Ashley would have been fluttering around her with herbal teas and heating pads. This time, she did nothing. She just watched my mother's pained, shuffling walk with a cold, satisfied smile. As Ashley's departure date approached, the tension in the house was unbearable. My mom gave in and wired Ashley $50,000 for her first semester's living expenses. Ashley's response was a sneer. $50,000? For a whole semester? Do you expect me to live in a homeless shelter? For my mom's birthday, she booked a table at the fanciest restaurant in town, hoping for a nice reconciliation dinner. Ashley showed up with my aunt, the one person in the world my mom despises, ordered the most expensive items on the menu, and spent the entire meal shouting profanities. On Valentine's Day, my mom, swallowing her distaste for luxury, bought Ashley a designer necklace and a handbag. Ashley snatched them without a word of thanks, then hopped on the back of some biker's motorcycle and didn't come home that night. The constant stress and emotional turmoil took their toll. My mom's blood pressure skyrocketed. She was dizzy and weak, confined to her bed. I finally had to take her to the hospital, where they kept her for a few days to get her stabilized. When she was discharged, the doctor was very clear. The underlying condition was manageable, but she had to maintain a low-sodium diet, get regular exercise, and take her blood pressure medication every single day. Most importantly, she needed to avoid stress and emotional shocks. Otherwise, he couldn't predict the consequences. After my mom came home, I started packing for a short vacation with my grandparents before my own semester started. Before I left, I gave Ashley careful instructions. The doctor said low salt, low fat foods only. No stress, no arguments. She needs to stay calm. I showed her where the medication was kept. She has to take this. 1 pill, 3 times a day. She's forgetful, so you have to make sure she takes it. It's really important. My mom just waved me away dismissively. Oh, stop it. Ashley is 10 times more responsible than you are. We don't need your nagging. Just go, go. My blood pressure only goes up when you're around. I shrugged, grabbed my suitcase, and walked out the door without looking back. My grandparents are the best travel companions on the planet. They have endless energy, generous wallets, and they praised every single thing I planned. Most importantly, they are expert photographers who managed to make me look tall, thin, and glamorous in every shot. For 6 days, we did nothing but laugh. It was a world away from the last trip I took with my mom, where she gave me the silent treatment for 3 days because she didn't like the photos I took of Ashley. The moment I stepped back into our house, the stench of stale urine hit me like a wall. The living room was a disaster zone, littered with broken toys and wads of dirty tissues. A little boy with a runny nose and no pants ran up to me, snatched my suitcase, and started tearing it open. "What is all this crap?" he shrieked. "You didn't buy me any toys? You stupid bitch." I recognized him then. It was my uncle's pride and joy, my younger cousin, Cody. I called for our housekeeper, Maria, but the person who emerged from the kitchen was my dreaded aunt, Sharon. She wiped her greasy hands on her shirt. "Why are you yelling?" I fired that maid. 8 grand a month for what? I can do twice the work for 20. Better to keep the money in the family, right? Your mother is so stupid with money. When I sat down at the dinner table, I was shocked by my mother's appearance. In just a few days, she had become pale and frail, her lips tinged with blue. She looked awful. My aunt and Ashley were chattering away in a dialect I didn't understand, completely ignoring her. The only food on the table was a greasy, brown stew of pork and cabbage. My little cousin Cody was plunging his filthy hands directly into the bowl, picking out the pieces of meat. My aunt watched him with a look of maternal pride. When Ashley tried to get some food, my aunt slapped her hand away. "The man of the house hasn't eaten yet. You wait your turn." She then shrieked for my uncle, who finally emerged from the master bedroom in nothing but his underwear, a cigarette dangling from his lips. "Well, look what the cat dragged in," he sneered, his teeth yellow. "Sharon, slice up some spam for our guest." I frowned. What is going on? Why are you all here? And why is my house such a wreck? My uncle plopped down on the sofa and took a long drag from his cigarette. "Not your house, kid. My house now. Better get used to it." He was completely unapologetic. "Ashley told me everything. My sister already signed the house over to her in the will. It's gonna be mine eventually anyway, so why wait for her to kick the bucket? We just moved in a little early." I couldn't reason with him. I turned to my mother, whose eyes were vacant and unfocused. "Mom, you've always hated these people. Grandma and Grandpa always favored Uncle Rick, paying his gambling debts while you had to fight for an education. They're horrible people, Mom. You told me stories about how they let their baby daughters die because they wanted a boy. You despise them. And now you're just letting them take over your house, take your money, and treat you like dirt." As I was speaking, a foul smell filled the air. My cousin Cody was squatting in the middle of the living room, defecating on the Persian rug. My mother looked over, a flicker of her old fire returning to her eyes. She struggled to her feet, pointing a trembling finger at my uncle. "Get out, Rick. Get out of my house. I'm not dead yet, you piece of garbage." Rick just laughed and sprawled out on the sofa. "Make me. I'm not going anywhere." My aunt chimed in. "Yeah, if you don't like it, you can leave." But the final blow, the one that broke her completely, came from her darling niece. "What's the point of getting upset, Aunt Linda?" Ashley said with a cold shrug. "The real problem is that you never gave my uncle a son. You have no one to stand up for you. Look at my mom. She gave my dad a boy, and he hasn't laid a hand on her in years. That's power. You just have bad luck. You should accept it." My mother clutched her head, swaying on her feet. The reason she had taken Ashley in, given her everything, was to save her from the very misogyny she had suffered her whole life. She had spent years telling Ashley that girls were just as good as boys. And now, that same girl was using that pain as a weapon, stabbing her right in the heart. The betrayal was too much. She collapsed to the floor, her head lolling to the side, white foam gathering at her lips. I screamed. "Oh my God. Somebody call 911. Help her." My uncle grabbed me, twisting my arm behind my back. "Shut your mouth, you little bitch. Don't you ruin this for us." My cousin Cody saw the foam and toddled over. He hiked up his leg and urinated directly onto my mother's face. "Auntie made a mess," he giggled. "Mommy says my pee is clean. I'm washing her." Seconds felt like hours. My mother was completely still. I knew if she died, I would be next. I calculated the time in my head. I slammed my elbow back into my uncle's ribs. He grunted in pain, his grip loosening just enough for me to break free. I sprinted for the door, but they were on me in an instant. My aunt and Ashley tackled me, pinning me to the floor. Ashley glared down at me, her face twisted with hate, and slapped me hard across the face. "Keep looking at me like that," she hissed. "I'll gouge your eyes out." I spit in her face. She grabbed a fistful of my hair and snatched a pen off the floor that Cody had been chewing on. She raised it high, the sharp point aimed directly at my eye. Just as she was about to plunge it down, the front door splintered, kicked open from the outside. A team of police officers swarmed in. Ashley looked up from my face and found herself staring down the barrel of a gun. "Police. Drop the weapon. Everybody on the ground, now." I had felt the tension building during dinner and had discreetly dialed 911, leaving the line open in my pocket. My attempts to argue and then run were all part of the plan to provoke them, to make sure the dispatcher heard everything. My timing was perfect. The The police burst in at the exact moment Ashley was about to assault me. The paramedics were right behind them. They were able to get my mom breathing on her own again before rushing her to the hospital. As the police were leading everyone away in handcuffs, I made sure to tell the lead detective to dust the bottle of my mom's blood pressure medication for fingerprints. I had a feeling they would find something interesting. My mom was lucky. She woke up and, over time, regained most of her mobility, but the stroke had caused permanent damage. She was slower now, with a quiet, detached quality about her. But in some ways, she was sharper than ever. The first thing she did upon being released from the hospital was go to her lawyer and revoke her old will. She signed over all of her assets and her shares in my dad's company to me. She even flew to Dubai with her lawyer to have my dad draw up an ironclad will, naming me as his sole heir. Ashley and her family would not get a single cent. They were all charged with a litany of felonies, including attempted murder, assault, and unlawful imprisonment. They all turned on each other, which only strengthened the case against them. Each of them was sentenced to at least a decade in prison. When my mom was stronger, she went to visit them. My aunt, from behind the plexiglass, was still giving her orders. Is Cody eating well? You know he doesn't like to chew. You have to peel his grapes and corn. And his meat needs to be minced. And don't forget his imported organic formula. My mom just smiled, a bright, sharp, terrifying smile. I wouldn't know. What does that have to do with me? I'm just a poor, childless woman. I couldn't possibly raise a boy properly. I sent him to a foster family, an old bachelor out in the country. No women in that house at all. I'm sure he'll be very happy there. My aunt fainted on the spot. When my uncle heard the news, he tried to fight a guard and escape, earning him an extra 3 years on his sentence. Ashley couldn't handle prison life. She wrote my mom letters every day, begging and threatening her to get her out. My mom flushed every single one down the toilet, but I heard all of this secondhand. Despite my mother's condition, I never considered putting my life on hold. I started my master's program at Yale as planned. My life was full and busy. When I had free time, I called my grandparents. Occasionally, I'd see my mom's posts on Facebook. She had started volunteering for a charity that supported sick and abandoned children. She seemed to be finding a new purpose. Years later, I got an unexpected call. The trailer park where my uncle lived was being bought by a developer for a massive new complex. The land was suddenly worth a fortune, but the county couldn't find any of the legal owners. My uncle had died in a prison fight. My aunt had passed away from cancer. Ashley had been moved to a state psychiatric facility, and Cody had run away from his foster home and was never seen again. The only living relative was my mother. The entire multi-million-dollar buyout fell to her. She called me to say she was transferring it all to me and asked what I wanted to do with it. I thought back to that Reddit post, all those years ago. I had wondered why on earth Ashley would think I'd be interested in her family's trailer. And now, through a twisted turn of fate, it was mine. I told my mom to sell the land and donate the money to the children's charity she volunteered for. I decided to use the funds to start a foundation within the charity. A foundation that would fund travel and educational opportunities for these kids, to see the country, to see the world, to show them that there was a world beyond their circumstances. Some of us are just born into families where we'll never feel fully loved. And while love is important, if it's something you're destined to never have, then your only choice is to grow, to reach for the sun, and to pull yourself out of the barren soil you were planted in. You might be haunted your whole life by what you lacked as a child. But sometimes, all it takes is one new view, one new horizon, to finally set yourself free. I hope I can help them find it.